Welcome to East West News. I'm Stan.
And I'm Courtney. In today's stories, a new crime wave is sweeping the country in the form of woolen graffiti. Scientists have invented an invisibility cloak. We help them find it. And the latest in weather around the country. But first, a story that will turn your world upside down.
If you think the world is getting more and more topsy-turvy, it turns out you're right. Builders in Germany have built an upside-down house, and before you think they may have read the plans upside down, they did it on purpose. The wacky abode was built as a tourist attraction as well as being a comment on the state of the world. The house is 23 feet tall and rests on its roof, and has steel beams in the attic. Inside the house, there are beds screwed into the ceiling, upside-down wardrobes, an upside-down kitchen, and even an upturned bathroom, though it's not known if anyone has tried to have a bath in it or go to the toilet. Normally a house like this would take 3 weeks to build. This one took over 4 months, because workers kept getting confused by the strange angles of the walls. Many tourists visiting the house complain of feeling sick and dizzy after just a few minutes inside. We now cross over to our reporter, Maddie, who was inside the house. How are you feeling, Maddie?
Thanks, Stan. I'm here with the owner of the house, Hannah, and I'm feeling a little bit confused. So what made you decide to build this upside-down house?
I left the plans with the builders, and that minute they had the house built with the plans upside down.
What comment do you feel the house makes about the state of the world?
The world is starting to tip into an unknown galaxy.
What are some of the challenges of living in a house that is upside down?
It is really difficult to keep my milk in my cereal bowl, and going to the toilet is a bit of a problem.
How did you feel when you found out that your house was built upside down?
I was a bit annoyed at the builders, but you just have to learn to live with it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maddie for East West News. Back to Courtney in the studio.
Thanks, Maddie. Even watching that makes me feel like vomiting. And now for a story that is truly out of sight. Look how Harry Potter and the world of science is catching up to the world of magic. Scientists in Europe have created a 3D invisibility cloak, which can hide objects by bending light waves. It has been found that light can be controlled by using special tiny crystals that make objects disappear. So far, scientists have made small objects, such as coins, disappear, but hope that it won't be long before they can be hiding cars, planes, and even people. People have always dreamed of making themselves invisible, one top scientist says. The possibilities are endless, and we are very excited. However, since inventing the invisibility cloak, the scientists have been having trouble finding it. As soon as we put it down somewhere, it just disappears, the inventor of the cloak said. It appears that they are having trouble finding other things too, like their lunch, which they think may be underneath the cloak. What will this invention actually be used for? Hoping to see through the reasons behind the invisibility cloak, here is our on-the-spot reporter, Courtney, with more on the story.
Hello, I'm Courtney, and with me is Emily and Hayden, both of the scientists behind the visibility cloak. Hi Emily and Hayden, thanks for joining us today. What made you want to invent the visibility cloak?
Ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to be invisible. Now that I'm a mad scientist, I can do anything. So we decided to invent an invisibility cloak.
Can you show me how the visibility cloak works? Emily? Emily, where are you? What's happening? What do you hope the cloak will be used for?
We hope the cloak will be used for little kids running away from their parents when they've been naughty.
When will the cloak be on sale?
We're hoping to get it on the market in about 5 years' time.
I might buy one myself. Well, that makes things very clear. Thanks for joining us. Back to you, Stan, in the studio.
Thanks, Courtney. And now how's this for an interesting yarn? A new wave of graffiti crime is covering the country, thanks to an underground gang known as the Midnight Knitters. These wall-waving criminals are covering tree branches and lampposts with small jerseys and scarves under the cover of darkness. Police say the netted activities of the gang are illegal because the bully crimes are being done in public property without permission. The popularity of woolen graffiti is growing, and more public objects are being wrapped up every night. But the problem is growing. Police say and warn that if the midnight knitters aren't caught soon, every tree, lamppost and traffic light in the country will be warmly dressed against the cold. The problem is spinning out of control. They are a close-knit group of dyed-in-the-wool criminals. We're stitching together a case, but it's not seamless. There is no real pattern to the crimes, a police spokesman said today. So far, the criminal knitters have escaped arrest and continue to pull the wool over the eyes of both the public and the police. We go now to a secret location with our investigator reporter Ethan, who was an exclusive interview with one of the Midnight Knitters gang.
Thanks, Stan. I'm Ethan, and joining me in this top secret location is some members of the Midnight Knitters gang. Hello, Tori and Libby. So what made you choose to do knitting graffiti?
Well, one morning we woke up and we realised that we're just old, so we decided we needed to, be young and hip again, so we decided to use our fantastic knitting skills to make some creative graffiti art.
Do you guys see yourselves as criminals?
Well, of course not.
Why not?
Because we're just trying to show off our amazing knitting skills.
Apart from trees, lampposts and traffic lights, what else would you like to knit?
Cars, houses, animals, people, things like that.
And for everybody out there, how can they join the Midnight Knitters?
Well, there's a $1 million fee, and if you would like, you could ring 0800 knit us. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for detail.
Thanks, Tori and Libby. Now over to Emily for the weather.
Thank you, Ethan, and good evening, New Zealand. Let's have a look at tomorrow's weather, starting in the far north in Kaitaia. Look out for some pretty flash flooding and raindrops as big as your head. If you're going outside, wear a hat. Moving down to Auckland, there will be a mix of fair conditions and unfair conditions, but those are the conditions, and you'll just have to accept them. There will be no weather for the Bay of Plenty as it is taking a short holiday but is expected to be back for the weekend. In Napier and Hastings, the weather will be sometimes changeable and sometimes not. We have really no idea what will happen there. In the Taranaki, a mild depression brings with a very dull day with no highlights at all. It'll be overcast and gloomy all morning, but things should cheer up by the evening, so don't worry, everything will be fine. In Wellington, we have another capital day. There will be no wind at all, and the conditions will be so pleasant they'll actually be extreme. At the top of the South Island, Kaikoura can have some meeting friends for lunch, going for a swim and reading the newspapers, but try to stay indoors as the weather will be just terrible. A real mix for Christchurch, which will have some unreasonable rainfall, some sensible wind, moderate thunderstorms and some very angry snow. And in the lower south, Dunedin will be frosty, cold and unfriendly until late morning when the sun will pop over for a visit. Everybody likes the sun. That's all from me. Remember, if it's raining outside, that's the weather for you. Good night, New Zealand. Now it's back to the news desk with Stan and Courtney.
Thanks, Emily. Well, that's all we have time for. We hope you enjoyed this evening's broadcast.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Until then, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Stan.
For East West News. Goodbye.
Gentlemen. Roll the camera. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are featuring an interview with a very peculiar-looking gentleman.
Scene 1, take 1.
Take two. Take two.